This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Police warn public about robbers targeting persons doing larger cash transactions. The public is being warned to be on the lookout for robbers who are targeting persons conducting larger cash transactions at commercial banks in town centers. The police say investigators have so far picked up on incidents in Portmore, St. Catherine, Halfway Tree, and Ligoni in St. Andrew, Maypen, Clarendon, and on Duke Street in downtown Kingston. Information gathered suggests that the robbers work in groups, employing at least 2 individuals, one as a spotter to identify potential victims, and another who commits the actual act of robbery, the police explained. The motorcycle is the preferred mode of transport, though there have been incidents where motor cars were used and reports of perpetrators fleeing the scene on foot, they noted. The police say while arrests have been made, investigators believe the syndicate continues to operate and are warning persons to be extremely vigilant. The following are some steps from the police that can be employed to reduce vulnerability. Be careful who you trust. In some cases, it has been borne out that robbers were alerted to persons by others with whom they share the information. This includes bank employees and even relatives and friends. Opt for non-cash options. The rise of online banking has provided many opportunities for direct bank-to-bank transfers. Where the limits on these avenues may not meet the cash needs, explore other options such as checks or wire transfers. Pay attention to your surroundings and trust your gut. While criminals work very hard to blend in and appear normal, most the victims report having a gut feeling before the incident. Trust that feeling and do not dismiss it. In public spaces, seek out a police officer or security guard or raise the alarm. When attending banks, avoid wearing expensive jewelry and carrying costly gadgets. These items increase the likelihood of you being targeted by robbers. Do not resist. Generally, robbers prefer not to engage the target. This changes, however, when there is resistance. Resistance increases the likelihood of serious injury or death, and the persons are advised to comply and prioritize life over possessions. Uncles mourn Westmoreland teen's death. 2 uncles of 17-year-old Jerry J. Francis, who was gunned down early Thursday morning, have painted a worrying picture of the youngster's life. He got caught up with the wrong crowd after a heartbreaking trail of relatives' deaths left him adrift, dashing their high hopes for him, they said. Francis was ambushed and killed in a yard at Ricketts Avenue in Savannah Lamar about 5:20 a.m. He was found with gunshot wounds to his head and upper body and lacerations to his neck, the police report said. His uncle, Lydon James, believes he would still be alive if only him did listen. "I'm not gonna shield him, but he just be with the wrong crowd. He got caught up in the violence where it's like he just got to find a way to survive," said James, who lives in the United States. He said there was a turf war brewing up road versus down road in the gritty community of Russia, and Francis lived in the enemy zone. He is being haunted by the memory of being told, just after attending his grandfather's wife's wake, that his nephew, who liked to tell jokes and loved to dance, had been killed. Those 2 deaths are just the latest for the grieving family. Francis's younger brother died 4 years ago in a motorcycle crash. His mother died in 2020 after ailing for some time. Last year, his grandmother James's mother died. She was hypertensive. James, who is the breadwinner for the family, said lack of parental guidance led to his nephew's early demise. With the death of his mother and grandmother, coupled with an absentee father, there was a change in the teen's behavior, he said. Francis stopped attending school from the 9th grade due to financial constraints, and James believes this left him with too much free time on his hands. Late last year, his uncle said he spent time in jail in connection with a shooting incident that involved the police. James thinks his nephew was wrongfully accused in that case, but acknowledges that he was not a saint. "I always talk to him over and over. I tried to get him out of the bad company. I tried giving him a chicken coop," he said. "I really love him, no matter if him good or bad," he said, while stressing that he never supported any of his nephew's bad deeds. Another of Francis's uncles, Damian Rose, spoke of the dreams they had for the teenager after the death of his younger nephew. "To tell you the truth, we expect great things. We were really looking up to him as a big nephew," he said. The last time he spoke to his nephew, he was at an event and couldn't talk long. He was looking forward to seeing him soon, he said, when he got word of his death. Cops bracing for reprisal as a slain man's family mourns. The Clarendon police say they are bracing for a possible reprisal after Wednesday's gun attack in Sandy Bay, where 3 people were shot, 1 fatally. According to the police, for more than a month there has been an ongoing feud between warring factions in the Buckstown and the Derby Terrace communities, which escalated Wednesday. The shooting claimed the life of 26-year-old Dwayne Miller, who is also known as Whisker. A 19-year-old and a 31-year-old remain in hospital for injuries during the gun attack. The incident took place about 10:50 p.m. According to investigators, all 3 were on Derby Terrace in the vicinity of a shop when they saw 2 men, both clad in hooded jackets, walking towards the group. The men pulled handguns and shot at the trio. All 3 were hit on various parts of their bodies. 5 spent casings were recovered from the scene. On Thursday, one of Miller's relatives spoke of the struggles he has had with mental illness since leaving high school. It is what kept him on the streets. "At one point him did a go on bad and we bring him go doctor, and him get medication. Next time him take sick and just stay one place. Sun come burn him, rain come wet him. Him just stay here one place until him stop talking," the relative said. The family member recalled the harrowing moment she received the devastating news that Miller was killed. "I was inside my house and I got a call from a family friend saying Whisker dead. Me ball out and fling away the phone and say, 'Where you tell me that for?' And me start cry. My daughter went on the scene and called back and say, 'Yes, a Whisker and him dead,'" the relative recalled. He could often be seen at the location where he was killed, the relative added. "We give him dinner down here and him walk go up there go eat it. They love him up there. Him always say them treat him good in the street. It's hard for the family. We never expect that Dwayne go dead worse by a gunshot. Never in a million years. We know him have him sickness and him don't really stay one place. But I just him that and he not stay home," said the grieving family member. Portmore residents could protest Highway 2000 toll hike. Anger is growing among Portmore residents ahead of Saturday's increase in toll rates for Highway 2000, with the responsibility of protest action becoming stronger. Dalton Scott, president of the Cumberland Tri-Sector Citizen Association, says resentment to the new fees structure has been extremely strong and the demonstration would not be a surprise come this weekend. There has been strong public response to the application by the toll operators for an increase, with the toll authority confirming that more than 30 submissions were received from groups and organizations. Mr. Scott says residents have rejected the argument that the last toll increase was delayed in 2020 due to COVID-19 and are adamant that some intervention must be made on their behalf. Member of Parliament for St. Catharines South East Robert Miller remains hopeful that last-minute discussions within the Transport Ministry will result in a decision not to grant an increase in the toll fees at this time. Mr. Miller said he has received unofficial communication from the ministry that deliberations are continuing and a decision is imminent. MoneyGram security guard shot during robbery in Santa Cruz. A security guard assigned to a MoneyGram outlet on Main Street in Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth, was shot Friday morning during a robbery. The incident happened about 11 o'clock outside the MoneyGram office. The guard was taking a bag with money to the MoneyGram location when a gunman demanded the cash. This led to a tussle during which the guard was shot. The gunman escaped with the cash in a car. The guard was taken to the hospital by the police. This is the third robbery in Santa Cruz in 4 weeks. Man freed of taxi operator's murder in St. Elizabeth. Domaine Robinson, who was charged with the murder of St. Elizabeth taxi operator Damien Days 3 years ago, was freed on Thursday before the St. Elizabeth Parish Court. This followed a no-case submission by his attorney Norman Godfrey. Mr. Godfrey pointed out that there was nothing to link his client to the case. His submission was upheld by the parish judge. Mr. Robinson was charged with murder, conspiracy to murder, and illegal possession of a firearm. It was reported that on June 22, 2019, Mr. Days was sitting in his taxi in Southfield when he was approached by two men on a motorcycle. Following a brief argument, one of the men shot Mr. Days. Mr. Robinson turned himself into the police in December last year after he was named as a person of interest. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.